Have you heard that Ubuntu now requires more RAM than Windows 11? Canonical is no longer pretending that 4 gigabytes of RAM is enough. Ubuntu 26.04 LTS raises the baseline memory to 6 gigabytes alongside a 2 gigahertz dual core processor and 25 gigabytes of storage. Ubuntu 14.04 LTS set the floor at 1 gigabyte, which was a modest ask when it launched more than a decade ago in 2014. Then came the Ubuntu 18.04 LTS that pushed that number to 4 gigabytes of RAM, surviving quite well in the era of 16 gigabytes being considered standard for mid range laptops. Now, Ubuntu's new minimum requirements land in an interesting spot when compared against Windows 11. Microsoft's operating system requires just 4 gigabytes of RAM, although real world usage often tells a different story. Usually, 8 gigabytes is considered the sweet spot to handle modern apps and multitasking. The blog OMG Ubuntu argues this change is not because Ubuntu requires 2 gigabytes more memory than it did, but it is more the way we compute. They consider it an honesty bump. Components that make up the distro include the GNOME desktop and extensions, modern web browsers, and also the sites that we load into those web browsers, and the kinds of apps that we use and keep using and running while multitasking. Ubuntu 26.04 LTS can be installed on devices with less than 6 gigabytes of RAM, but not less than 25 gigabytes of disk space. The experience may not be as smooth or as responsive as developers intend, but it will work. If you do install Ubuntu 26.04 on a laptop with just 2 gigabytes of memory, it will be slow to the point of frustration, but it will otherwise function. If you have a device with 4 gigabytes of RAM and you can't upgrade the RAM, then alternatives do exist. Plus, there's always the manual option using the Ubuntu Net Boot installer to install a base system and then build out a more minimal system from there.